To help us unpack the possibility of humanitarian aid entering into the Gaza Strip and the continued aggressions in the Gaza Strip, we're joined from Cairo by Nourhan Sheikh, Professor of Political Science at Cairo University, and from Kentucky by Ihsan AlKhatib, a Political Science Professor. Thank you both for joining us here on In Depth. Let me start off with Dr. Nourhan. The idea of a Gaza freedom zone echoes Israeli far-right proposals for forcible population transfer. How do you interpret this in the context of the continued ethnic cleansing and displacement of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me with you. Actually, it is really a dramatic tragedy. I mean, we all follow what is going on. It seems that Israel insisting for displacement is Palestinians, and they are trying to do and to pretend some plans, some reasons for that, but actually it is obvious that it is a wrong plan for Israel, and they are insisting to complete what they are starting. Let me remember with you what Netanyahu declared many times in UN and outside the UN, that he has some plans for a new Middle East, and that I remember the map he showed when he actually put all Palestinians' land within Israel. All that means one thing, that Israeli has its own intentions, has its own plans, and it doesn't care about what is going on to Palestinians. It doesn't care about human rights, about international human rights law, about anything, about even the humanitarian and ethics of humanity. I think this is very dangerous, and that would lead to escalation of the conflict in the region. And I think sustainable conflict and sustainable war would be continue unless Israel retreat from that dreams or its dreams, and be realistic in its policy to Palestine.
Well, Dr. Assad, I heard you must have heard what Dr. Nourhan was talking about, but also the White House envoy Steve Witkoff has given both Israel and Hamas an updated proposal for the release of the detainees in Gaza, as well as the ceasefire deal, and is pressing both parties to accept it. The plan includes guarantees to prevent Netanyahu from resuming a unilateral war. Does this indicate a shift in Washington's approach, or is this another tactic, or possibly a way for Netanyahu to basically continue, his offensive in Gaza?
Greetings, everyone. The main issue is that the Israelis have brought the whole situation to square number one. From day number one, what the Israelis did, they used October 7 attack as a pretext. They already had I think, planned to take over Gaza and kick people out. When October 7 attack happened, it was an opportunity to capitalize on that attack and execute the plan. They failed because of resistance, because of the Palestinian people not wanting to leave their land, and because Egypt said no way. The US tried to bribe and pressure Egypt, but Egypt said no way, it's not going to happen. So it failed. Israel failed from day one, actually. Now, their declared goals are defeating Hamas and releasing the hostages by force, basically. That they think that with applying pressure, with starvation, they'll be able to do that. But they haven't. They haven't really been able to do that. Those who were released by negotiation. The same problem with Trump is the same problem with Biden, is that the fact when we look at the weapons and the money that goes to Israel, that's not Trump sending them. That's not Biden sending them. Trump is not sending one bullet to Israel. He's not sending $1. It's the U.S. Congress. All he can do is delay but he can't stop the money and the weapons from going because that's the law. The Congress decided that. Now, Trump, I think that he decided that Netanyahu is not making sense. Netanyahu is not reasonable. Netanyahu is not a team player. He's not on the same page. But he is the elected leader of Israel, and Israel is an ally of the
I'm
US.
sorry to cut you off there, but there have been reports that this so-called rift between the two sides is not necessarily a rift. It's just the way they see how they can tackle the situation is different, but the end result is the same, that they both want the continued displacement or the removal.
The US, yeah. See, the US is not pressuring Israel on this.
Yes.
The US is giving advice and pleading with the Israelis, but the Israelis are not listening because they know that they have the US Congress and the Jewish lobby on their side. Now, the influence, I read today that in the Wall Street Journal that Netanyahu was quoted as saying that, look, we have to allow some food because our friends in the US Congress have said, please allow it because extreme hunger is going to make us look bad and make you look bad. So they want to let in some food because of that, but they don't have any any issue with the law. They don't care for anything because the US support is still the same. And Witkoff himself said there's no daylight between Netanyahu and Trump, that they're basically on the same page. I don't think they're on the same page. I think Trump does want to end the war, but he's unwilling to pick a fight with the Jews in the US and with Netanyahu.
Okay, Dr. Nourhan, now there's a point that Dr. Ihsan brought up about the idea of, basic necessities like food, water, and further humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. Now, Israel's decision now to allow what they call the basic amount of food into Gaza seems calibrated to avoid outright famine while preserving a continued siege. Is this what you would consider a humanitarian gesture, or just a continuation of, weaponizing starvation and the idea of, calorie counting that they've imposed on the Gaza Strip since 2007?
Unfortunately, the whole world is seeing what is going on in Gaza, and the famine you mentioned, the deterioration of the basic lives. A few days before, we lost the last hospital working in Gaza, so there is no any medical assistant for people there. It is really unbelievable situation. No human being can live in such a situation. And although that they are stuck with their lands, they're insisting to stay and to maintain their rights of their lands and their independent state. But unfortunately, the whole world cannot listen to Egypt, cannot listen to all countries. They are demanding peace, sustainable peace, just peace. They are not listening. And unfortunately, the only power who can force Israel or can push Israel toward peace also doesn't care. I see that, or I think that Trump administration doesn't care about a lot about peace in Gaza, although he pretended that he is a peace man and he coming to maintain peace in the whole world and to solve and all conflict and make a just and sustainable peace in the whole world. But although that he paid more and more attention toward Ukraine, maybe toward Iran but even in his last visit to the Gulf, he didn't give that much attention to what is going on Gaza. And I didn't think that he's doing a lot or even exercise some pressures over Israel to peace, and it is a pity because the United States, I think this is the only power or the only state can do really or can achieve really peace in Gaza.
Okay, Dr. Ihsan, with what Dr. Nourhan just said, that the US is the only real power that can stop Israel from the aggressions there. Steve Witkoff said that a humanitarian disaster won't, quote, happen on Trump's watch. But isn't there a catastrophe already unfolding with over 53,000 people killed? Famine is everywhere, and many children have died of starvation. and no
Yeah.
ceasefire in sight, do you think that the US at some point will pressure the Israelis into a real lasting ceasefire, or is this just relief for now, where they're going to allow some humanitarian aid in and the continuation of the aggressions?
You know, there is a spectrum of hunger and deprivation, and what the U.S. pressured, the Prince of Israel pressured Netanyahu to allow food to prevent extreme starvation. But there is starvation and will not be prevented. But they're afraid of like an outright outright dying from hunger, because it will make the U.S. make Israel look bad.
But there
They
are
can
children that
were
have
able to
died of
convince
hunger, though.
Netanyahu. Yes, but much worse. I mean, there's a spectrum
Yes.
and it can get worse. But I disagree with your guest, Dr. Nourhan. I don't. I think that I know from what I heard from Trump, from the nature of Trump, is that he doesn't want war. I mean, he's a man of peace. Look at Ukraine. He wants to end the war. Look at Iran. He told Netanyahu he doesn't want to go to war with Iran. He wants to solve the problem with negotiation. Look at the Houthis. He ignored the Israelis. He said to the Houthis, stop attacking our ships, stop disrupting shipping in the Red Sea, and we'll end attacking us. So he was able to end that without having Israeli involvement. So he has a vision of peace, actually. He does have a vision of peace. He wants the Abrahamic peace. But the problem is Netanyahu. That's the problem. And the problem is the American political system and the Jewish lobby, and the fact that they basically have control over Congress. It's an occupied, Pat Buchanan, an American politician, called the US Congress Israeli occupied territory. They have it under lock and key. And if Trump goes against Netanyahu, he will have a major fight on his hand. This is not going to be even an easy fight. And Trump will think, okay, I have to pick my battles, and I have bigger fish
But
to
the
fry. I
proposals
have
that came out from, I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off there, but like I understand what you're trying to say, that basically Trump wants peace, he's a man of peace, but the proposals that are coming out from Trump of, relocation, of what he calls relocation of the people of Gaza to other areas or other countries, is this a realistic plan, or is this even something that should have been on the table? I mean, isn't this against every form of international law?
It's a distraction. It's like the shiny object that will distract you from what's going on. It's like the Israelis wanted, the Palestinians wanted. Okay, let me be creative and come with something out of the box. But really, there is no plan. There is no plan at all. It's just distraction, just an idea that Trump threw, and nobody really was prepared for it. Even his own staff were like, what did they say? It's a distraction. It's a shiny object. Change the conversation and to remove the focus from the atrocities and the pain and the suffering. It changed the conversation, which I think that's bad that they changed the conversation. It's not a serious proposal. It's not a plan. And the Israelis grab this and say, oh, the Trump plan. There is no Trump plan. They will not give Gaza to Trump. These people from the river to the sea, they want the land without the people. They're not going to give it to Mahmoud Abbas, and they will not give it to Trump either. They want it. Even though Gaza doesn't really have much value in their tradition, in the Jewish tradition, and Rabin said he wishes it will sink in the sea, and Sharon himself left Gaza. But there is a settler cabinet today. This government is a settler government, and these people are not rational people. They're extremists. They're just the Jewish equivalent of ISIS. And that's why you can't reason with them. And Trump looks at them as a bunch of stupid people, that what they're trying to do is irrational, but he's not willing to clash with the Jewish lobby. That's the thing.
Okay, Dr. Nourhan, can we get your take on this? Do you believe it also that Trump wants peace but doesn't want to pick a fight basically with Netanyahu, especially that Netanyahu insists on certain aspects to be in the ceasefire, like Gaza's disarmament as a precondition for a ceasefire? How does this work? And from a regional standpoint, is this a possible demand aimed to end the prolonging of the war, or just, a thorn in the side of the negotiations as they continue on to bombard the Gaza Strip, as we've seen in the last few hours, where they've absolutely pummeled Khan Yunis?
I think that Netanyahu has a personal interest to continue war, because I think he realized that as soon as the war ended or the peace achieved, he would be out of office. This is clear to everyone, and this is clear for the whole world. So he insisting, by a way or another, to continue in a war, not only in Gaza, sometimes with Houthis, sometimes with Iran, but by the end he is in a war situation, and pushing forward to continue in such a situation to serve his own and personal interests. This is clear. But I think the only way is to separate the two things. I mean, war and ceasefire. This is item, and also if we are try to disarmament Hamas or something like that. This is one thing, and on the other hand, we should be focus more and more on humanitarian assistance. Hamas doesn't represent whole Palestinians, and the one who are suffering now are the ordinary people who has nothing in the war, who didn't fight against Israel or against anybody. They are children, women, old people. So it is very important to be clear that we should separate the two. Humanitarian assistance is something, and all what we are talking about ceasefire, disarmament, Hamas, this is another thing. But unfortunately, Netanyahu putting them in one package, and this is, from my point of view, the problem. Another problem, maybe Trump is a peace man, okay, but I think he has interest to displacement Palestinian. Kushner mentioned that clearly, even before Trump coming to the White House. And Trump himself declared that he has some projects for Gaza.
Dr. Nourhan, I'm sorry if I cut you off there, but I'm sure you've heard Dr. Ihsan talking about the idea of, the Netanyahu government is not going to allow anyone to take the Gaza Strip, not Trump, not Mahmoud Abbas. Do you agree with the statement that even if Trump does have plans for what he called a Riviera, Middle East Riviera, it's just not going to happen?
But I think he had some kind of matching interests. Yes, there are some differences, and it was obvious when they met together, Netanyahu and Trump. But at the same time, the differences concerning Iran, not Gaza. Yeah. What we are saying between the two men concerning Iran, not Gaza. Concerning Gaza, I think that there are a lot of harmony and some kind of matching interests between the two. And I think this is a problem. Trump didn't put real pressure over Netanyahu concerning Gaza. Look what he really pressured him concerning Iran and prevent him from attacking Iran. But concerning Gaza, the situation is, I think, totally different from Trump.
Okay, Dr. Ihsan, if we could get your take. Now, with 5 Israeli divisions re-entering the north and south of Gaza, flattening areas, continued bombardment as we've seen today, is this the beginning of a full-on military reoccupation disguised as what they called a targeted operation?
No, these people are lying from the day one. They want to occupy Gaza, get rid of the people. They still want to occupy Gaza. They want to build settlements in Gaza, but they will find ways to get rid of the people. That's their plan. I mean, this is what they want to do. That's why the issue, Hamas has been very flexible, creative solutions. Have even been, I think Hamas is on the same page as Trump and the Israeli society. I mean, 70% of Israeli society is with the support of one deal where all the hostages will be released and there'll be a permanent ceasefire. That's what 70% of the Israelis want. Mm-hmm. Trump wanted that too. Trump wanted one exchange, be over with it. The only person who said no is Netanyahu. Netanyahu doesn't want it. Netanyahu can't say the word permanent because if he does, the cabinet will fall and he probably will go to prison because of his criminal case, ongoing criminal case. So Israelis, I don't think Netanyahu is not stupid. He knows that what the Israelis are doing in Gaza is not good for Israel, but he doesn't care. He cares about himself. He wants to stay out of prison and stay in power.
Yes.
But these hardline, Messianic Jews in the government, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, these are hardline extremists, and they don't care about that, and they just want the land and they want settlements.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. That was Ihsan AlKhatib, political science professor, and Nourhan Sheikh, a political science professor at Cairo University. Thank you both for your insights in joining us.